I don't have to wear a mask because I need to get connected up here. I'm introducing Ed Denson. Not only is he a wonderful person, but he is a warrior lawyer. And those two terms are not a contradiction with Ed Denson. He has a history that's like a patch quilt. He started out with a record company, which he had for about 20 years, and then he moved into like activism. He got involved in the pepper spray case and the aerial surveillance case. And that whetted his appetite for activism, and he was finally busted for trespassing on Pacific land, where they were doing things like clear cutting and all the stuff that we routinely oppose, and so he got busted. And later he got an inheritance, and he spent his inheritance on law school and got out and defended all of these people in the marijuana community, marijuana growers all around him. So he spent a lot of time on busts. He got acquittals. He got people's cases dismissed outright, and he, at least in most cases, got a better deal than they otherwise would have gotten. And in my opinion, it's because his heart is in it. He also is known most recently for this astonishing discovery that he made, which is that the tax law, cannabis tax law, after 2016, Prop 64 passed by the voters, was not being implemented. And he discovered this in looking it over and realizing that isn't what we passed. And what they had done was insert their own language without regard to what the voters passed. And he caught it. None of the tax lawyers caught it. He asked them, what were you all doing? Why didn't you catch this? Well, he caught it. And because he's a community person, he's looking out for us. And he went to trial, civil trial, and he won. It was hands down victory, because it wasn't it wasn't what the voters passed. So of course the county appealed it, and the appeals court said, no, this is open and shut, lowercase affirmed. And so Ed Denson has earned a debt of gratitude from us for the foreseeable future. The county didn't want to appeal that because all of those people might have gotten their money back, or they might have been subject to getting their money back that the county took from them based on the change in the law that they made. They raked in money from that, and they didn't want to have to give it back, so they said, okay, you win. And what I say is we win because of Ed Denson.
Well, yes and no. But then I'm a lawyer. That's what they all say. By the way, I wore this because I'm speaking as a lawyer. So this is my lawsuit. I don't have a lot of time to speak to you, so I'll focus on the Measure S lawsuit that Trippet Pebbles was talking about. And what an honor to be introduced by Pebbles. Yeah. Just astonishing. one of the high points of my legal career. So, 2016, Humboldt County pot growers are deliriously happy because it's become legal. Now they're going to be legal growers. They're going to pay their taxes, and everyone will love them. And the county Humboldt County now, put a tax initiative on the ballot 2016, which looked innocent enough. For outdoor growing, it was $1 a square foot. And it got enormous support and passed easily. The thing is that if you want a tax like that, the county government must have the voters approve it. They cannot pass taxes of that nature without putting it to a vote. So, about 6 months later, they realized that they had done a very poor job of designing this tax because it taxed growers, and everybody knows that growers are notoriously bad about paying taxes. It taxed square footage, which meant somebody had to get out there with a tape measure and measure every farm that was being taxed. And it didn't begin to tax you until you started to grow. No grow, no tax. Well, every government has a bureaucracy. It's what Trump called the deep state. But the bureaucracy's agenda has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with expanding their own authority to regulate and control things. That's what they do for a living. So, the bureaucracy came to the Board of Supervisors in the person, I believe, of John Ford from our planning department, and said, this is unworkable. We're not going to hire some guy with a tape measure to go out there. And how are we going to stop everybody from throwing the crop in the truck and driving away, never paying their taxes? So they rewrote it. They rewrote it from top to bottom. They said, okay, we know the growers are unreliable. We're going to tax the property owner because we've got them, right? I mean, they can't put the property in the truck and drive away. So we can always seize the property for the taxes. Then we don't want to hire all these guys with tape measures. We're going to put the tax on the size of the permit because we've got them all in the computer. Now, in a single afternoon, we can do all the tax bills. It's just a matter of punching a button. Then they thought, we're basing the tax now on the size of the permit, that is 10,000 square feet, 40,200, whatever it is. Why don't we just say, if you've got a permit, you've got to pay the tax. Never mind whether you grow or not, because we're shifting to the bureaucratic method. And so the consequence of this was that the actual taxes they paid went up by, that they collected, went up by millions of dollars. We don't know yet how much they took in with these changes. I was advising people about setting up their legal businesses. And late in 2017, I had forgotten some point, and I looked at the ordinance, and I thought, what the hell is going on? Have I got dementia? This isn't at all what I remember. All the major stuff is different. So we traced it back to June 2017 board meeting where they passed these changes. And I thought, well, this is pretty creepy. And I did some research, and lo and behold, I discovered in the government code that you can't do this. Anything that increases the tax has to be voted on by the electorate. So I wrote them a letter, and I said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you've made a mistake. You can't put this into effect. You need to revert to the old language and give those people their money back. And the county council sent me a letter, and he said, well, actually, we can do this, and we did, and we're going to stick with it. So I began looking for lawyers to come in with me on the suit. That was fruitless. Nobody in the county wanted to sue the county because they were afraid it would screw up the rest of the practice. I finally found a guy named Fred Fletcher, whom I'm sorry to say, I believe has died. But Fred was fearless, and I got him to do the writing. And at this time, Netflix was in southern Humboldt, getting ready for Murder Mountain. But they didn't know which way they were going to go. So they came and interviewed me about the lawsuit, and they were there when we filed it. The thing is that they couldn't enter the building to film without a bunch of permits and stuff during business hours. So we filed it, came outside, held a press conference, and as soon as the business day was over, the Netflix crew goes right back in there. A very helpful clerk comes up behind the window, and we simulated it. We reconstructed the filing. So Netflix had all that, but none of it made it into Murder Mountain. But they still got it, so we'll see. Okay, we went to Judge Kelly Neal, courtroom 4, civil suits. And, you know, we filed our stuff and the county filed theirs. They lost faith in the county council. They hired some people out of Sacramento because, of course, where would all the good government lawyers be? And when the time came for final argument, the county got up and I got up in front of the judge, and I said, do you have a tentative decision? And she said, yes. And she said, and it's in your favor. Okay, I said, I don't have any argument. I sat down. Okay, well, the county, of course, now knowing it had lost, had plenty of arguments. And in the end, the judge said, you cannot tax the landowner. You must tax the permit holder. You cannot tax the permit amount. You must tax the actual canopy. And you cannot tax anybody till they start growing. Now, there were two other things that we sued about. The original Measure S said that the tax would be collected biennially. Anybody know what that word means? I don't think any of the voters did either. It means every 2 years. Biannually means every year, or really every half year. So we sued for that. We said they can only collect this tax every second year. And the final thing it said was that in order to qualify to pay the tax, the grower had to be growing in accord with county, state, and federal law. Well, that meant nobody was subject to the tax, right? It's illegal federally. So we said, by the way, the whole tax is illegal, or collecting it, until the feds legalize. And the judge said, I don't think there was a voter on earth who would have understood this initiative to mean we're going to wait for the feds. It was presented as an immediate tax, and the reasonable voter would have understood that. So we lost the 2 language points. Then the county, realizing how many millions were at stake, appealed to the First District Court of Appeals. And I got Jay Moeller, a very experienced appeals lawyer, to write the appeal for me. He has spent, well, he's done hundreds of appeals, argued before the California Supreme Court, and all that, and was nice enough to do it on spec. So, which is good, because I didn't have any money, and my clients had chipped in maybe $7,000, which just went like that when you start doing lawsuits. Okay, Court of Appeals, I get to argue with. Court of Appeals says, our tentative decision is you win. So I said, thank you, I submit. And that was my high point in presenting to a court. I got to the Court of Appeals, and I said 2 words. So now the county could either go to the Supreme Court of California or hang it up. The county hung it up. We have signed a settlement agreement. That lawsuit is over, and we won. Now everybody has to get their money back, and I'm looking forward to the county fighting tooth and nail about those refunds, but we're going to get them. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.